Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something seriously fascinating together. We're going to decode an ancient text, the Bhagavad Gita, but not as a religious scripture. Instead, we're looking at it as a highly practical human operating system for modern high performance, crisis management, and self-mastery. If you want to really understand the deep psychology behind elite decision-making, it turns out this ancient text holds some absolutely incredible answers.
So think about it for a second. What is the greatest leadership manual ever written? You'd probably guess some modern business bestseller, maybe a Silicon Valley memoir or a famous military strategy guide, right? But what if the most profound manual on crisis management, emotional intelligence, and decision-making was actually delivered on a literal battlefield thousands of years ago?
See, the Bhagavad Gita is fundamentally a human operating system, and what makes it so extraordinary is the context of where it all goes down. It wasn't taught in some quiet monastery or a peaceful, climate-controlled classroom. It was delivered by Lord Krishna to the elite warrior Arjuna, right in the dead center of the Kurukshetra war. I mean, imagine the sheer noise, the deafening sound of conch shells, chariots rushing by, weapons clashing, pure panic everywhere. It is the ultimate symbol of human conflict, immense pressure, and paralyzing uncertainty. And honestly, that is exactly why it remains so timeless. It teaches us how to live, how to lead, and how to execute flawlessly while functioning in the total deafening chaos of real life.
To unpack this masterclass, we're going to map it out across 6 key areas: the reality of breakdown, mastering your inner strategy, the purpose-driven leader, performance without burnout, the human operating system, and finally, the ultimate leadership equation. Okay, Section 1, the reality of breakdown, the modern battlefield.
Let's think of that ancient battlefield of Kurukshetra as the ultimate metaphor for your modern corporate pressures, economic challenges, and deepest inner conflicts. The weapons have definitely changed, but human psychology, it absolutely hasn't. Before any transformation even begins in the text, Arjuna experiences a complete mental collapse. He literally drops his bow. He's suffering from fear, anxiety, emotional conflict, confusion, self-doubt, overthinking, and a total loss of purpose. Does any of this sound familiar? Imagine sitting at your desk, staring at a high-stakes email draft or a massive corporate restructure, and feeling entirely paralyzed by the sheer weight of it. Arjuna is exhibiting the exact same symptoms of burnout that modern professionals and executives suffer from today. The Gita acknowledges that true leadership begins precisely at this breaking point, when that intense confusion has to be transformed into clarity.
Section 2, mastering your inner strategy, mind over matter. Here's the thing, the text argues you simply cannot lead outwardly until you master your internal psychology first. Think about the stark contrast here. Modern management books usually teach external tactics, right? How to outmaneuver the competition, gain a tactical advantage, or maximize quarterly profits. But the Gita insists on inner strategy first. Why? Because a disturbed, fearful mind simply cannot make powerful decisions. A fearful leader cannot inspire a team. A confused person just can't execute effectively. Krishna first stabilizes Arjuna's psychology before even discussing taking a single step in the external world. That right there is the very definition of elite leadership coaching. Which brings us to this foundational quote: the mind can be your greatest friend or your greatest enemy. It is so wild to realize that Krishna is essentially teaching advanced cognitive mastery here. He's teaching emotional resilience and what we now casually call emotional intelligence, thousands of years before we even had words for neuroscience or behavioral science. Just think about that. Before leading others, you absolutely have to conquer your own mind, your emotions, your habits, and your ego. Moving to Section 3, the purpose-driven leader, knowing your dharma. So once you achieve that mental stability we just talked about, you've got to define your true direction. Otherwise, you easily fall into that classic modern trap of chasing a title without a purpose, wealth without values, or success without any actual fulfillment. To avoid that trap, the text explicitly commands us to know your dharma. Now, dharma translates to purpose, responsibility, a higher duty, alignment with truth, and conscious action. The Gita teaches that true leadership is never, ever about feeding the ego. Think of a manager who makes decisions just to look good to the board versus a leader who operates from a profound sense of responsibility to their team's growth. Dharma is entirely about that responsibility and service. It's an alignment with a higher purpose, making this a manual for managing human existence itself.
Section 4, performance without burnout, the art of execution.
This brings us to the actual mechanics. How do we execute our dharma flawlessly in the real world, under immense pressure, without completely burning ourselves out? Well, you have the right to action, not to the fruits of action. This is arguably one of the most famous teachings of the Gita, and honestly, it gets so misunderstood. It is absolutely not anti-success. What it actually means is that we must focus obsessively on execution, on the process, and on excellence, while actively avoiding becoming emotional slaves to the final outcomes. Modern humans suffer constantly because we're addicted to validation, terrified of failure, and just deeply attached to the results. To actually pull this off, we have to completely reframe the word detachment. It doesn't mean laziness, withdrawal, or just checking out. Not at all. It means being fully committed. It means working intensely and giving your absolute best, but retaining this objective, fearless awareness where you aren't emotionally destroyed if the outcome isn't exactly what you pictured. Detached awareness is the exact mental stability required to make high-quality, strategic decisions. Section 5, the human operating system, the psychology of states. If the Gita is a human operating system, well, this is its source code. It's so crucial to understand the deep psychological framework that drives all of our human tendencies, motivations, and behaviors. Thousands of years ahead of modern behavioral models, the Gita categorized human behavior into 3 distinct energy states known as the gunas. First up, sattva, which represents clarity. Think of a sattva leader. They're calm under fire, they foster wisdom, they make incredibly balanced decisions, and they drive focused productivity. Second, rajas, representing restlessness. We all know a rajas leader, right? They're micromanaging, super stressed, sending you emails at 3 a.m., driven by this relentless ego-fueled action. And third, tamas, representing inertia. This leads to inaction, avoidance, and confusion, literally the leader who hides in their office during a massive crisis. Understanding these states allows you to instantly recognize your own decision patterns and intentionally shift your energy back toward clarity and wisdom. Section 6. The ultimate leadership equation, the path to self-realization. Let's zoom out here and pull all of these concepts together into the ultimate master roadmap for conscious achievement. It's this brilliant cascading sequence. It starts with self-mastery, which naturally leads to clarity. With a clear, sattvic mind, you can finally discover your dharma, your true purpose. Knowing your purpose then fuels disciplined action, and when you pair that action with detached execution, meaning you aren't enslaved by the chaotic results of the world, you achieve inner peace. And that unshakable inner peace is exactly what allows you to fulfill your ultimate purpose. This sequence is the true essence of Krishna's leadership philosophy, beautifully integrating material excellence, ethical execution, and spiritual awakening all into one seamless flow. Now, think about traditional authority, barking orders blindly, trying to control people, demanding strict obedience. Contrast that with this ancient coaching method, and the difference is just staggering. Throughout this entire process, Krishna acts as the ultimate elite executive coach. Instead of commanding Arjuna from some high-up place of hierarchy, he uses immense emotional intelligence. He listens to the warrior's fears, deeply understands the paralysis, brilliantly reframes the problem, educates, and completely empowers human transformation under the highest possible pressure imaginable. And he actually caps off all this guidance with a statement that is just awe-inspiring to read. Now reflect on this fully, and then act as you choose. By intentionally leaving the final choice up to Arjuna, Krishna proves that true leadership is entirely about empowering conscious action, rather than trying to micromanage and control people. You provide the clarity, you build the framework, you align on the purpose, and then you completely trust the execution. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to bounce that exact same thought back to you. Look at the uncertainty of your own modern battlefield. Look at the immense pressures, the tough decisions, and the daily complexities you're facing right now. Equipped with this human operating system, understanding your inner strategy, discovering your dharma, and executing with true detachment, reflect on this fully. How will you choose to act?